Hello everyone and welcome back to your virtual air festival, the first one of 2025. It's exciting, I know, don't get yourself too elaborated and too excited. But I am joined always by the ever so clever Nizdam and his infinite knowledge and wisdom.
I think you are overstating my skills.
Overstating your skills. Yeah, so we've got a lovely little schedule for you today, haven't we? Do you?
Yeah.
What have you? Do you know some of the little things we've got coming up?
Well, we do have the typhoons and the red arrows.
Typhoon and the Red Arrows.
I
See,
don't.
they're Air Festival
I don't know
classics, aren't
about. Yeah, I don't know about if we've got the B1B, but we've also got some other foreign ones like the Saudi Hawks. So
they? Yes, Saudi Hawks.
we might have
someone from Finland as well. But I think we're going to kick it off nice and early today. This little display team is a civilian run, and they come from Wales in the United Kingdom. This is Team Raven.
I hear the aircraft, I hear the skipper. They're running in from the right hand side. Please welcome Team Raven. Pulling straight up into what they call their delta loop. Led from the front as always by Sid Shirley. Super champion, so more about him and the rest of the team in detail a little later on. But what you're seeing here is an absolute masterclass in formation flying. It's quite a big wing to fly. Frequently the guys on the outside struggling a bit in some of these turns because all the speed's slightly different whether you're at the top or the bottom and how much G you're pulling. Coming back in this side now, good opportunity as Sid brings the team back into the underside pass. And there you go, the little cadence you're hearing all formation teams there, or the action or changes to the formation is all made on the very, very last tone that is expressed from the last syllable of the final word. So you hear the smoke going on and off. The reason for that, of course, is to ensure that you've got enough smoke to last you throughout the whole display. So, whilst the rest of the team form into box on the right-hand side, coming in, Ravens 4 and 5 to break. Executing a super roll there, breaking out onto what we call the 45, giving us a quarter clover, the 45 being our left and right angles. If you hear anybody refer to the B-axis, that's a straight line out in front of you, and the A-axis, that's the team are coming in now from the right-hand side, is left to right or right to left, all the way along the C front. Sid now bringing them in box for the barrel roll. Just see how calm that is. Each of them doing their very best to replicate every maneuver in the slightest, lightest possible manner of the leader himself. And that's what keeps them in that formation. Very economic as well, but also, as you can see, supremely well designed for aerobatic. As they break out to the left now, keep your eyes on the main team as they come back in for the Cyclone. Sid leading the display team, an ex-Royal Air Force fast jet pilot, well over 5,000 hours now, has done multiple tours on the Tornado F3 as well as a QFI on the Hawk and the Grob Tutor as well. We're going to see one of those a little later on. And now more latterly on the Grob 120 TP Prefect. There's the current training aircraft. He's currently serving as a reservist QFI and flight commander on the University of Wales Air Squadron at St Athan in South Wales. Keep your eyes now on the main crowd wind. Absolutely critical that they fly as precisely as possible, and of course it's all about energy management at the same time. Coming in now, what I referred to earlier on is the B-axis, the one going straight in there in delta formation, coming up for a wonderful split called the vertical split. There's the call. What a lovely sight. Flying immediately alongside Sid is Pete Wells, of course, hugely well-known guy, self-taught almost, well over 6,000 hours, soloed in his 16th birthday, very, very popular Oxfordshire, and he is the go-to man if you want to repair one of these sharp little shooters. Good cross coming up. This is Ravens 4 and 5 now performing their crossovers. Gerald Williams, well-known professional rugby player from South Wales, also played in New Zealand and South Africa. A big beast of a man, a hugely entertaining chap, really competent pilot. And in the other aircraft, Russ Eatwell, he is indeed accumulated well over 15,000 hours. Many of that, of course, during his time with the Royal Navy's Fleet Air Arm. Team now exiting on the right-hand side. Keep your eyes peeled now on Ravens 4 and 5 coming in for their battle loop. This refers to the battle positions that you adopt in military training and of course in combat as well. Far enough away so that you get a good sight right around the horizon for looking out for any oppositions. Now, keep your eyes back now on Ravens 1, 2, 3 and 6. Coming. Break, go. Absolutely outstanding. So while they're braking and repositioning, Ravens 4 and 5, Russ and Gerald will come back in for a tail chase loop. Now this is also part of training as well. The tail chase, absolutely important for, of course, fighter training in the later years, but this time just replicating it by pulling up now. And this will be the first of 2 loops. So neatly done by 4 and 5. That's yachts you can see bobbing about way out into the ocean now. Rolling into a barrel roll.
Throttling back. Quick and dirty.
And wonderful repositioning, you notice there into l'echelon for that excellent break. Let's dedicate this heart to the one you love. And you can hear the wonderful chitter chat in the background, absolutely brilliant. Coming in from our right hand side, look high and up there, you see the smoke is on. Coming in now for what they call the crocodile loops. I think it's a delightful manoeuvre. planned to perfection. Absolutely delightful. Now you see the other aircraft in the sky all doing their best now to quickly reposition with the rest of the team. And the one man right at the end who's going to get in there last, I haven't mentioned yet, that is of course Raven 6 and Mark Southern. Now he is my trade and airline pilot, the Tornado GR1, and also the JP in the instructional role. But the team now back in, and you see, look, just getting in the nick of time from the left-hand side. This is a wonderful manoeuvre. Sid leading them now into what we call the Twizzles. Utterly delightful manoeuvre, really smoothly done. And they'll be bumping around, of course, there. This you're feeling this wind on your faces as you're sitting there watching this. Well, I can assure you, they work very, very hard to keep to that precision formation, and it does take an awful lot of commitment and training. So you hear the chit-chat in the background. They're all perfectly forming up, coming in now from the right-hand side. They pull up into what we call a quarter clover, and surprisingly that's only one part, the very first part of doing a full clover manoeuvre, and then a delightful downward bomber. So keep your eyes peeled on us. Going into the roll, keeping smooth, keeping tight. The men on the outside there working really hard to keep that formation as tight as possible. And look at the drift as well they're getting. And there it is. And that is Team Raven complete. Absolutely splendidly done. I will pass on your grateful thanks, but you can give them away.
So that was Team Raven, which is quite an interesting team. So most of them are, or quite a few of them are from the RAF, from RAF pilots, or at least have military backgrounds. They are the world's largest civilian full aerobatics display team. Their current plane is the RV-8, which is actually built by them, and it has a max speed of around 220 miles per hour.
And I mean, compared to like some display teams, that's not a lot, but as you can see, it gets the job done. And I think it's quite amazing that civilians get. I know that's not like, I know they've got their background and everything, but like just to come together and say, like, I don't even think they're getting a profit off of it, like major profit. They get a profit for the team, not for the them individually, which I think it's just amazing. And I think what keeps them going is the fact that they just get to go out and do this amazing display.
It's not just that; it's that fact that they've built their own planes. Right.
Yeah, which it's really good and it's nice to see. So, I don't know, are we about ready to move on to our next section, or have you got any more of your wide knowledge to spread with everyone?
Yeah. So the planes are made by, I believe, somewhat designed by Van Aircraft, and they build kits for the planes. And RV-8 is the 8th series. There are newer models out there, like RV-15, but they also have different purposes as well.
Nice. So, talking about, building your own aircraft and having a display team, we're going to go and have a look at a little interview of a lovely little plane called the Tiger Moth, and this is a little interview about the Tiger 9 display team.
It doesn't go fast, it's not that particularly easy to fly, it's cold, it's uncomfortable, but I'm one of those people that doesn't mind doing things the hard way for the sake of it, and I found a whole bunch of friends that like doing the same thing. If you were setting up a formation team, you probably wouldn't choose a Tiger Moth. Jeff Milsom, I run the Tiger 9 display team. There had been a previous team which is called the Diamond 9, which was set up by a chap called Charlie Shea Simmons in 1985, and he's actually was up here today. He doesn't fly anymore, but that team ran successfully for 15 years. They did a huge number of air shows. There was a gap where there weren't any Tiger Moth display teams until there was a requirement for the 25th anniversary of a Woburn Abbey rally, and they were asking if there was a 9 ship, and in a very small voice I remember saying, if I were to lead a 9 ship, do you think we've got 9 pilots that would be interested in doing it? And we got 9 volunteers, and we very carefully got 9 aircraft airborne, joined them up into a formation, did a couple of flypasts, and then took it apart again and got them all back down. And it was quite an achievement, and as much as I wanted to do for the first one. It's interesting when you look at the rules and regulations about close formation flying. Can you, when you're airborne, can you just go and fly up alongside another aircraft? Is it legal to do that? And the answer is no, it's not. You're not allowed to do that unless both pilots have agreed to do it. And you think, well, why would that rule be in there? Why would the CAA stop us doing that? And when you think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense, because you're bumbling along there and you don't know, but your mate's pitched up on your wing. You might think, all right, time to go home and stick on some bank and do a hard turn to the right, and you've made a little mistake by not looking out before you turn. Very easy to do, and your mate is there. So that is the basic first rule of formation flying. Now, when you get lots of aeroplanes, the more airplanes you get, the more complicated it is. So you have to have a brief, you have to have a plan. So as leader of the team, it's one of my guys going home, as leader of the team, my role is to, for every air display, I go off on my own with all the details of the airfield, the display line, the crowd line, the places you've got to avoid, and I work out a plan. And my job then is to convey that plan to all the other pilots so that they all understand exactly what I'm thinking, and they've got to know that my plan has to be robust from the beginning to the end. It is fatal to get halfway through a brief and then realise you've made a mistake and change it, because you've now got 2 plans in some of the pilots' heads, and it's so easy for them to revert what I said the first time before I corrected it. Throughout the brief, they all know there's no such thing as a daft question. I make mistakes. If they say, Jeff, I thought we were turning right there, I'll say, no, that is a left turn because of this, and so on. Once we've done the brief, it's then vitally important that we exercise that brief without any aeroplanes involved. And so we do that by doing a walkthrough. It might look like us playing follow my leader on the airfield, but it's done. I make the calls that I'll make on the radio, but I'm not giving any briefing, I'm not giving any instructions. It's my opportunity to test that I have correctly conveyed my plan to every pilot, and that they can remember that plan and they can demonstrate it by walking through. And if we dive down to a bomb burst and we all turn the correct way and one person turns the wrong way, that's not a problem. He's misunderstood something in the brief. We remind him what he's supposed to be doing. We go back and we walk through it again. And until everybody is absolutely clear, we won't get a consensus that we're going to go and fly it. So the briefing and the walkthrough are absolutely essential when you're putting up a lot of aircraft together. I was one of those young chaps at the age of about 14. I built a balsa wood model aeroplane, and I just became entranced by this magical world of flight. As time went on, I went off to university, joined the University Air Squadron, and I was lucky enough to fly the Jet Provost at Cranwell, and then I went on to the Red and White Hawks as they were at Valley, and then down to Chivener on camouflage Hawks, and I was posted on to the Phantom conversion unit. Converted onto Phantoms, did a couple of tours up at Lucas, air defence of the north of the UK, flying Phantoms in air defence role, and it was the sport of kings. At the time, I thought, well, this is my job. I thought everybody does this sort of thing during the week, and they get go to the bar on Friday night and have a few beers with their mates. And it's only when I look back on it, I realised how special those years were, and to be allowed to fly an aeroplane like that is. It was a great privilege, I realise now, and probably the pinnacle of my flying career. And having moved from there into the airlines have very different challenges, different sort of flying. But for me, the urge when I punched up through a layer of cloud into glorious sunshine on a winter's day to whop on full aileron and do a quick twinkle roll, it didn't go down terribly well with the passengers, and so I had to resist that urge. but the need to fly was still there, and it wasn't really being satisfied by the airline flying job. Within the airline that I worked for at the time, there was a father and son. The father had flown Spitfires during the war, and between them they shared a Tiger Moth, and I managed to blag a ride in this Tiger Moth on a summer's evening from Tollerton, and I thought, this is fantastic, going out on a grass runway, rocking around, surrounded by struts and wires and no brakes. And we just did a couple of circuits on this summer's evening, and for me it was like a little bit of flying that I'd missed. Before I started flying on a Bulldog, I recognised it as a flying machine. It was a machine that was designed to fly, and as early machines were, and I was thinking, well, the Tiger Moths will keep me interested for a little while. This was going on in about 1993. And this aircraft behind me was a lorry load of parts. It hadn't flown since 1952 when it was sold off from the RAF, and we bought it in about 1998, and by August 2000 she was fully assembled, flying, and was in very, very nice condition, and I've been the proud custodian of this aircraft for the last 23 years. So my initial idea that I would be my flying need would be satisfied by the Tiger Moths for a couple of years actually took a lot longer, and I find now that because I've got the aeroplane, which I still enjoy, it doesn't go fast, it's not that particularly easy to fly, it's cold, it's uncomfortable, but I'm one of those people that doesn't mind doing things the hard way for the sake of it, and I found a whole bunch of friends that like doing the same thing. If you're doing setting up a formation team, you probably wouldn't choose a Tiger Moth, but we all have a passion for these aircraft, and up here at the end of a training day, which we are now, I've just watched my chums get airborne and the sound of the Gypsy Major burbling away as they head off back, two to Old Ward and one back to White Waltham, and they're bumbling off. We've had a cracking good day, we've improved the team, we've got it up to standard. It's a thoroughly enjoyable social weekend, and there's a certain charisma about a Tiger Moth, and I think we all think of them as our friends, and we thoroughly enjoy messing about with our Tiger Moths.
And that's it, isn't it? It's all about like having fun. And like the Tiger 9, they prove that it's not just about the flying. Like the flying is a big part of it, and they get a big thrill out of it. But it's all about making friends and having a bit of fun. But I'm one of these people that I love watching aircraft, I love the display, but I don't know much about aircrafts. So I'm going to hand over to Nistan there, and he's going to tell you a little bit about the Tiger Moth.
So they were built and designed in the 1930s, so they are into war design, but they definitely look more akin to many of the earlier designs, and this was because during the time many aircraft designs were in their infancy.
Nice. So yeah, these are
I'm
what?
not too familiar with the 1930 aircraft.
But would you say these are like war aircraft or what?
So they are, well, they are biplanes. That's definitely a thing.
Yeah, biplanes. So yeah, biplanes.
I don't know what the particular model they're using. Off the top of my head.
I don't know either, but it's one of them little aircrafts. Like the guy on the VT said, they see like they like to think of their friends. They're that type of aircraft. They're little friendly. They don't go very fast, and but it's amazing what you can do with old aircraft nowadays. But we're going to go from the old to new. What have we got on the thing next?
Got the Typhoons.
Typhoon. It's the RAF Typhoon. I believe this clip's from 2018, the Eastbourne Air Show. Again, this is Aero TV, and that clip
it's a solo Typhoon this time. So yeah.
And that clip was from Planes TV. Now, we're going to go and watch the mighty Typhoon.
It doesn't go fast. It's not that particularly easy.
Do some interview stuff like that, and hopefully you get picked for it.
And coming in from the left-hand side now, please welcome Turbo in the mighty Typhoon. And that's the way to arrive at an air show, and I'm sure he'll leave in similar style as well. Well, if you look underneath the wings when you get time, you don't get much time to talk about it in this. Then you'll see the hard points with the ASRAM, the AMRAM, the Storm Shadow, the Brimstone, the Paveway, Liza guided bombs, and of course the 27mm Moser cannon. Oh, going very freestyle, as they like to say, carefree handling in this machine. Now he's got a little assistant on board, a digital lady, I understand. Is that correct?
Yeah, so if there's certain things that he's not meant to be doing or he's a little bit low, he'll have a little lady just saying in his ear, low terrain, a little bit low. So we got someone keeping a safe eye on him.
I've heard pilots refer to her as Barking Betty. And of course, you're regularly seeing up the jet pipe of 40,000 pounds of thrust from those two EJ200 turbofans at the same time as he maneuvers this through an incredibly small area of airspace. Going through a barrel roll out on the 45, setting the jet up now, just coming in tight, the G piling on, of course, and now really excessive use of G in such a small area. Up to 9G, that's 9 times your body weight. Now, what's your particular specialism on this aircraft? You all have different talents, don't you?
Yeah, so my work that I tend to do day to day, I work as a weapons technician, so looking after the ejection seats and the weapon systems upon this mighty fine aircraft.
Indeed, and this would be one of the latest generation ejector seats as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so this is the Mark 16A. Awesome piece of kit made by Martin Baker, and thankfully we haven't had to use it yet on a British Typhoon.
Yeah. Well, of course, one of their capabilities every day, whilst they give up their time at weekends to let us enjoy these extraordinary aircraft. Of course, let's not forget that he has daytime duties training other pilots and, of course, being on QRA as well. That's Quick Reaction Alert. Now, the great thing with this jet is that not only can you fly very fast, but you can fly very slow, and you'll see a little bit at the moment. But right now, here's a great example of a slow roll. Now, that is quite an art form for any pilot. Even more difficult, perhaps, in a machine of this weight and this power, to be able to do that absolutely accurately and keeping the jet going straight down the display line. Now you can hear the throttles coming off a little bit, going into a very slow barrel. And then with the throttles right back, and you notice how incredibly quiet this has become, but he's still flying at about 110, 120 knots with a stick back towards him, and in a high profile, high alpha we call this, just before it's basically the angle of the aircraft where it's still flying, but it's close to the upper angle of attack before it would fall out of the sky. Of course, the little computer on board would never let him do that, but the little canards at the front there, if you've got your high-profile photographic lenses and binaries, you'll see them twitching away because they are just keeping the aircraft under full control. Very shortly now, he's going to push the throttles. There we go. Back into full reheat. Oh, I can see feel the smile on his face is doing that. Presumably at the end of this, all you guys have got to rush back to the airfield and start refueling it and checking all the equipment, yeah?
Yeah, so the guys back at the working out of Southend this weekend, they'll be giving it a good service, a good look over once he's landed.
Yeah, okay, but you've got a spare?
We do have a spare.
Ah, that's great. We saw you Thursday actually beating up the area. Oh, look at this magnificent stuff. He's going to push away from here now, and the G will really, really affect him. That's another nosebleed turn that he put in there, and absolutely outstanding stuff. Now, you can do a lot to protect yourself and mitigate against positive G, but you cannot do anything about negative G. It's a very hard thing. You just have to get used to it and endure it. So I say a lot of physical fitness training goes into it, plus the mitigation. He's got chest piece, leg piece, even the socks help a little bit as well. Put in a couple of derry turns there. That, of course, is a fainting, a famous fighter maneuver put together by the famous John Derry, where you feint to go left, but it's in a roll, but you're actually going to turn right, or vice versa. See all the swath coming off the top of the wings there. We're in a very humid atmosphere, and that is the air condensing as he's pulling high G in this maximum rate turn. So the G really on all the time, all the way around this turn, and he's absolutely pushing the aerodynamic lift. Oh, fantastic photographer's moment there. This is a really, really good display. They're coming round for his finale now, which is something that I think you'd all love to. Have you been in the back seat during one of these practices?
Not during a practice, but I have had the privilege of having to go in the back seat of a normal sortie.
Yeah, it must have been fantastic. Well, I reckon he's going to go full throttle now, pointed at us, and then just reach for the sky because we have clearances in place to enable turbo just to set this jet on its tail. A farewell. See you tomorrow. And that is the way to leave an air show. Fantastic. That's the end of day 2 of this fantastic 30th anniversary show here in Airborne. Well done, everybody.
So that was the Typhoon. Now, this particular Typhoon was dressed up as a Hawker Typhoon, as it's to commemorate its predecessor and what it's named somewhat after. Although the RAF Typhoon, also known as the Eurofighter Typhoon, is quite a multinational plane, considering for the fact that it's got typical European design characteristics such as the canarded delta wings.
The one thing that I always find like a little bit is we're the only country I believe that call it the Eurofighter Typhoon. Some of the other countries have it. So like I know Italy has this certain jet, and what other countries have it? Do you know?
I think Germany also as well.
I think yeah. So like Germany and Italy, they have the jets they have. They call it just the Eurofighter. They don't call it the Eurofighter Typhoon or anything else. They just call it the Eurofighter.
But yeah,
Have you got any more facts on that aircraft?
Well, its top speed is if I can remember it, Mach 1.8, which I believe is
Nearly Mach 2. Nearly, close enough.
yeah, but I believe that's around 2,222 kilometers.
Now,
maybe 2,225.
the one
I
thing with
do not
British
know.
air shows is you never get to see that speed, purely because they have a speed limit in most British air shows. I know with the Bournemouth Air Festival, and I think the English Riviera Air Show, and I think especially Riyadh as well. There they have, I think it's 600. It's either 600 knots or 600 kilometers an hour or something. It's 600 in a speed limit. Or it might be miles per hour actually. One of the speed limits, they cannot go over that certain amount because then I think it's deemed too dangerous for the show and everything. So that's a useless piece of information that I know. But anyway,
Yeah.
what's coming next? Do you know where does it come from?
So we've got a plane from Finland, which is the Midnight Hawks.
Yeah, the Midnight Hawks are a lovely little Finnish foursome, actually. They're a foursome group. Something very cool is that they're, on their day-to-day jobs, they are flight instructors. They're usually flight instructors. They teach people how to fly the jets that they're using. Now, this particular piece comes from Riyadh. So this is the Midnight Hawks.
The Hawk has served in the Finnish Air Force's training role for over 40 years and has been updated over the years to meet modern requirements. Its versatile maneuverability combined with the modern glass cockpit and avionics makes the Hawk an excellent training aircraft for teaching air combat even on an international level. The signature of the Midnight Hawks display team is its closed diamond formation, in which the four aircraft fly only with a 2 meters canopy to wingtip separation, demonstrating extreme precision. The team approaches you from the front right in a trail stack formation, from which the members of the team perform a split at the exact same time, ending in a shape called arrow. Next, coming from your left, it's the line abreast flyby. Ladies and gentlemen, straight in front of you, Midnight Hawks and split section.
Just want to have a quick apology. We have just dropped a little bit. We are back on now.
Yep.
So that was the Midnight Hawks. Yeah. So that was a very short display from the Midnight Hawks, and that came from Riyadh 2022. Now Let's have a little bit of a discussion. Did we figure out what plane they used?
I don't know, but I think it was the Hawk 51 because
The Mark 51.
that's the the Mark 51 from BAE Systems. That was the only version I believe exported to Finland, although it might be with the 51A.
Yeah, and there are quite a few display teams out there like that. They use the Hawks. You know, we have in the UK we have the Red Arrows who use the BAE System Hawk Mark T1, which I believe we'll get onto that a little bit later. But the UK government are trying to retire the Hawk T1, so I'm gonna look for gonna have to look for other ones to use with the Red Arrows.
We do also have another display of the Hawks coming up after the B1B, which is, I believe, officially, I believe they're the Saudi Falcons.
The Saudi Hawks. Saudi Hawks.
I think they are the Saudi Falcons.
No, I don't think they are.
They might be known as both.
Oh, we've got the Saudi Hawks, which is the Royal Saudi Air Force aerobatic team. They're coming up a little bit later on today, and I believe they use the Hawk T1 as well.
Yeah, they use the Hawk T1 / also they use the Mark 165.
There's also what is it? I think it's Tricolor for Tory, which is the just doing the Italian. Frecce Tricolori, which is the 3 coloured arrows, and that is the Italian display team. We were going to feature them, but we decided not to today, and they might come up a little bit later. Just trying to see what aircraft they fly. Oh, they don't fly a Hawk, so that's cool to know. But yeah. So what have we covered so far today? We have what we had. We had Team Raven in their RB8s a little bit earlier on. What else did we have today?
We had the Tiger 9 display team.
We had the Tiger 9 display team with their little interview about what they do. And we just had the Typhoon and the Midnight Hawks. You know, the one thing that I find really interesting, that it's quite interesting to know about, and I think all display teams do this, is that when listening to the Tiger 9 interview, they said that, he said that before they go out and fly everything in the air, they'll walk everything through on the air ground and make sure that it's all precise. And I think that's a really good sort of safety measure almost, to make sure that everything's tip-top shape, all going well, all doing right, and
especially for the Tiger 9s. I don't know if I believe it's probably most likely a recreation, because if there are 1930 planes surviving,
oh yeah,
they're kept alive, I think.
They're rebuilt and
is,
refurbished planes.
Yeah, they're rebuilt and refurbished. They probably have some safety stuff, but they don't have ejection seats. They don't have some of the fancier stuff. Maybe in an emergency might be useful. So definitely worthwhile checking everything.
The thing is, at the same time, they don't go as fast as other display teams and stuff. So they, there's a little bit less risk in the speed. But, because they're not going upside down. These planes aren't built to go upside down, but they do bomb bursts and different things in the sky.
Yeah, as far as altitude.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, a double-edged sword. If lower altitudes, you don't have to worry about having respirators and things, or oxygen. But at the same time, the lower altitude you fly at, the less time you've got to react if something goes wrong.
Yeah. So, right, I think we're going to move on now into our second section of the evening. Now, a couple of years ago, I think they do it every year, but over at RAF Fairford, which is actually a US airbase in the UK, RAF Fairford, also where REACT is held, they had the B-1B Lancer bomber come and say hello, their unit, and Planes TV got to have a little inside look, so we have that interview for you already. Now, if I hit the wrong button, I do apologise.
My name is Stephen Carey. I go by Pistol. I'm an instructor pilot on the B-1. The 4 aircraft are here, part of a bomber task force in Europe. So like the primary role of the bomber task force is agile combat employment. It's kind of taking a small group of Air Force personnel, showing our adversaries that we can employ at an austere location or someplace we normally don't employ from in a moment's notice, and then pick it up and go do it somewhere else. Then obviously the other part of deterrence is assurance. So we're out here assuring our allies, integrating with a lot of our NATO partners, strengthening the bonds with our NATO partners as well.
I hope you haven't found Fairford too austere. A little bit of a change from Texas, though.
Yeah, definitely changed from Texas. I kind of enjoy it because I grew up in the Northeast in the U.S. Kind of reminds me of home, so I enjoy Fairford.
My name's Robert Fleming. I go by Splash. I'm an instructor weapons systems officer in the B-1B. We can carry the largest conventional payload of any bomber in the U.S. Air Force inventory. For the majority of our training out here, we're carrying 2,000-pound simulated weapons. A lot of valuable lessons learned, especially for some of our young Wizzos that are out here for their first time.
Down low, it flies a lot like a fighter jet. When we put the wings back, obviously a swept wing airplane, we can kind of maneuver it like a fighter jet there. Up high, it does fly a little bit like a heavier aircraft, a little bit slow on the roll authority. But obviously, as we push it up and go fast, 1.2 Mach, it flies just like a fighter jet. This is the coolest part, I think, of the B-1. Right now, we're full 15 degrees forward, which is going to be really just for slow flight landings and takeoffs, or when we're trying to just loiter and hang out and go really slow and save gas. But typically, they're 25 wings, so 10 degrees back here, that's like for cruise flight. And then what we typically fly in a cast wheel, so around 0.7 to 0.75 Mach, I'll be 25 wing. And then as I want to speed up and go really fast, like 0.85 Mach, I'll go 45 or 55 wing. And that's where this wing, this will obviously be closed, and the wing kind of folds back, and that upper lip, if you will open up, and the wing will tuck back into itself. And then I can go full aft, 67.5 degrees, and that's when I'm running away bravely or getting somewhere very quickly, Mach 1.2. And that's all manually controlled. Here on my left and located on your right is how we sweep the wings. So full forward right now, 15 degrees, and then it's basically another flight control service. If I need to speed up, I'm going to move my wings back. If I need to slow down, I'm going to push my wings forward. Kind of like flaps and slats, but for the entire wing. Our stab, pretty cool flight control system. It does a split stab, so it's not like the traditional stabilator, if you will, that just goes up and down for pitch. It'll split to create a rolling movement. If you look, we don't have any ailerons on our wingtips, so we do have spoilers to help spoil the lift to drop the wing, but at high speeds, the spoilers would get blown back. So primarily, our rolling movement in the aircraft comes from the split stab, specifically at high speeds when I'm going really fast or down low, when there's a lot of force on the wing. That stab is primarily how we turn.
What's it like for creature comforts up there? How well do you get on together over a long mission?
Getting along is a pretty easy job. So we do a lot of squadron activities together when we're on the ground to build that morale, because when you're stuck in a jet, my longest mission is 24 hours, 23 hours. So when you're stuck in a jet for 23 hours, where the only place on that jet I can stand up is actually in the aft crew compartment. I can't actually stand up in the forward crew compartment. To my right, about this close, is the OSO, Offensive System Operator, and then on my left is the DSO, Defensive Systems Operator. So I only have about 3 feet of space I can stand up in, and then I don't have any room to the back or any room to the front. It's just a little bit 3 foot by 3 foot area I can stand up fully in. Really, I just like to go back there and get a relax from the other co-pilot. If he's making me angry or something, I'm gonna go back in the back and hang out with these guys.
My role is navigation, radios, inputting weapon information, so working through our avionics flight system and inputting all the data for targeting and weaponeering. There's 2 of us, so we have an offensive and defensive side of the aircraft. So you have one person that's primarily defending the jet, the other person is your weapons employment. Yeah, so we have our sniper pod, so we use it. We can track movers, we can designate and get coordinates for weapons. That's really our view of the outside world in the aft station. In the forward station, they have the nice cockpit. They can look outside. For us, we just can see the world through the sniper pod or the radar. So this is for our 2,000-pound class weapons. And as you can see on each station, there's kind of like an ejector rod. So that physically will punch and force the weapon to leave. And then once it's done, it'll rotate, go to the next station, and then you'll release another weapon, and it'll just continue all the way around. When we're fully loaded, we're carrying 24 2,000-pound bombs, and it's pretty destructive and pretty awesome to watch.
We can't actually release any weapons from the front station, but we do have like what we call a consent switch or a voting switch, which is right here. So release, we're safe to release up front, and then if we go safe, no munitions can come off the jet. But the Wizzos in the back are the ones actually demanding the aircraft to release the weapons. So up front, what we do is we manage basically what we would call HEFO, hydraulics, engines, fuel, oxygen, and electrics. Right, so we're systems managers. We have all of our engine information here, all of our fuel stuff here, communication, navigation, electrics, hydro, all around the front of the cockpit. So we're managing all those systems, making sure that all the systems are healthy. And then we're also backing up the OSO and the DSO in the back. So with our screen right here on the right, we can see all the things that they can see in the back, so we can work together as a crew and make sure that the tasks that need to get accomplished. And then on our left screen, you would have like what you would call your six-pack in general aviation, your attitude, airspeed, all the things to fly the airplane, and then your moving map, all the weapon systems, the defensive stuff, everything over here on your right side. So this is how we, our forward glare shield, so this is how we can see the pod or interact with the pod. So in aft mode, we can see the pod, and then when we're in forward mode, it's basically a touchscreen laptop that we can look stuff in, help us replan the flight. We do fly with iPads, but if those break or anything, we can pull up like checklist or anything that we could need on a computer right here on our screen as well.
It's an elegant solution to needing a new screen, extra screen.
It's and this is actually the modern version of that. Before it was a removable system. Now it's like hard mounted into the jet. So the jet's a mixture of 70s, 80s, 90s, and a little bit of 2000s technology. We do look like a heavy aircraft, though sometimes we like to call ourselves a non-heavy aircraft. So we don't have like the throttles in the middle, but we do have independent throttles. So mine are on the left and yours are on your left as well. And obviously they're independent for each engine as well. So all these switches here controls all of the fuel tanks on the B1. But when they're all in auto, this computer will go ahead and balance the fuel as required. So if I'm about to release 8 2,000-pounders out of my aft bay, 16,000 pounds is going to be released from the aircraft. So that's a large amount of weight to all of a sudden lose out of the airplane. Especially when we're doing multiple bay releases and our CG envelope is very specific. So this computer looks ahead and says, okay, I'm about to release these weapons. I need the fuel located here in order for the aircraft to maintain its center of gravity.
And it can move the fuel that quickly? Does it preempt it?
No, it doesn't move it that quickly. It does it preemptively.
Got it.
So basically, for lack of a better term, that thing can look ahead and talking with all the other avionic systems on the jet, they all can talk to each other and say, hey, I'm about to release these weapons in a couple minutes, and then the fuel CG computer will be, okay, then I need the fuel to be here in a couple minutes, and it'll look ahead.
And it's a system that's hands off. You just rely on it working.
Yeah, as long as it's in normal and everything's working, we rarely touch all these switches.
Wow.
Now all these switches are basically backup for. We have 2 of these computers. If both of them break, then that's when we would have to do that. There's 1 and 2 fuel tanks forward of the engines. Basically, the main tanks are basically surrounding the engines or on top of the engines and around the intermediate bay. Then 3 and 4 are behind the engines, surrounding the bays as well. And then we have our wing tanks in the wings as well. And then with our store bay tank, we have a store bay tank as well. This jet only has room for 2 things, fuel and bombs.
It's definitely a little bit colder than Texas. It's been very enjoyable. We have the British American Committee that is trying to get us out into the public and provide different events for us to experience the UK. And so far I've enjoyed it. It's been very interesting. Having the spotters here every time we're doing something is something that I'm not used to. The overall interest for the jet is just really amazing.
The local community has been great. All the 4 or 5 pubs down in Fairford, they're very used to, I think, seeing Air Force personnel now walking in and walking out.
You guys are always very good at bringing the aircraft out to public events, and we're hoping we might see a B1 at Fairford next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope we can bring a B1 to Fairford next year. That's obviously not a decision at my level. but us as aircrew, we love taking the B1 anywhere and showing it off and showing the capabilities of the B1. And obviously 75 years being a huge mark in the Air Force for the United States. So I'm hopeful that we can bring a B1 here for RIAP, but obviously I can't foresee the future.
You know, they did ever get a B1 for RIAP in that year. You know, we could always hope, couldn't we?
Yeah,
No.
it would be nice to see one of these bombers fly.
It would be, and we've just got to get down to RIAP, and at some point, hopefully next year, 2026 will be the year we go and see the Royal International Air Tattoo. Anyway, what have we got coming up next?
We've got the Saudi Falcons or Saudi Hawks. I don't know which was the actual name. If you guys want to correct us, tell us which one is the actual name, then go ahead.
So yeah, we've got the Saudi Hawks coming up next. Now this comes from Royal International Air Tattoo 2022, the same year as the Midnight Hawks. Saudi Hawks are there most years actually. So they fly their colours green, and it's actually really weird because in the UK we have the Red Arrows. They fly red, white, and blue smoke, whereas the Saudi Hawks, they fly red, white, and green smoke. And I don't know what really, like, it shocked me to see green smoke coming out of a jet, because, like, well, I didn't know you could do that, but it's, you know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, green smoke is somewhat common. I'm not.
Because
It's a weird colour to see because it's atypical.
But for smoke in like aircrafts and stuff, and for air displays, they use like a baby oil mixture, so it's like it doesn't actually harm the environment. So it's like it's all like safe and everything, but it's you know, it's one of them things. So coming up next we have the Saudi Hawks, and hopefully I pressed the right button. This is the Saudi Hawk.
Left now.
بنت.
Just going to apologise there, everyone. We are so sorry, we just lost connection again, but we are back up and running now.
The team will pull up for a loop as the formation reaches 70-degree nose high. The team leader will give the command for the team to turn right 90 degrees. As the team descend down, they will split, presenting in front of you the Arabian tent. Ladies and gentlemen, look and get your cameras ready for the center.
Perfect now. Perfect. Saudi. Select. Yeah.
Now, if you look in the middle, in the distance, you could see the team. They just put their smoke on. Now they're changing their colors.
Up.
They start their pull up, and now they will draw the Saudi symbol, the palm. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Saudi logo. Okay, you can see they just put their smoke on, and now they will make the intersection right in front of you.
2, 4, go.
Now look to the left, you will see the Saudi 1, 2 and 3 and Saudi 4 getting ready for the Saudi flag maneuver. If you can see them, and to your left hand side, Saudi 4 drawing a circle around the main formation. He presenting the Saudi flag right in front of you. Saudi 4, he's rolling around the formation. He is Major Sufyani from a city called At-Taif in the west of Saudi Arabia with experience over 3,000 hours. He's been with the team for 6 years. Each jet can carry up to 5 minutes of a smoke, the white one, and 2 minutes for the color one. Now if you look to the left and to the right, you will see them making their entrance for the display line. And then they will break in front of you. You can see Saudi 4 and Saudi 5 with the red smoke turning around the formation. I will let you hear. Our next maneuver is the goose. As you can see, Saudi 6 coming from the left and the main section coming from the right, flying the V shape inverted. Saudi 6 will cross through the formation. If you look to the right, you can see 5 aircraft flying the V shape inverted. Now if you look to the right, you will see Saudi 7. He will fly the low-level fast pass. Saudi 7.
And that, ladies
and gentlemen,
was
the Saudi Hawks.
Saudi Hawks from Riyadh 2022. What do you think of that, Dan? What do you think?
Yeah, they were quite good. Interesting to see green painted planes in the sky.
Yeah.
Not very common sight with green smoke.
No. You know the one thing that I found out, again, this was listening to the Red Arrows, but to make their smoke a bit brighter and a bit more full in colour, they put their air brake on. Because I don't know where the smoke pod is positioned, but they put their air brake on and the smoke is somehow brighter. And I think that just amazes me, just by putting like, a little thing on, you know, makes everything a bit brighter.
I don't know how that works. Is it because it's positioned behind in front of the air brake?
I would assume it's positioned just in front of the air brake, so as the smoke comes out, it catches the air brake, and then something happens, and it gets brighter. So I'm looking at my little schedule here in front of me, with my little prompts and everything, and I can see it's now time for a little intermission. We're going to take about 10 to 15 minutes now, just so we can go get a drink and go to the toilet and all that jazz. So we will be back in about 10 to 15 minutes with your Virtual Air Festival. Hello everybody and welcome back to your virtual air festival anytime, anywhere, and you are with Paul and Nizdam on this fine Saturday evening. It's nearly 9 o'clock and we're getting ready to nearly wrap up things, but we've got a few more aircraft on the lineup in this second half. What do we have lined up? We have the Strike Master pair, followed by very... Oh, I was going to make it a surprise, but it's alright, we're there. We've got the Vulcan bomber, because on my little spreadsheet here it says helicopter or vintage aircraft. I'm decided to go with the Vulcan bomber for that one. And then ending it all off, we've got the Red Arrows a little bit later on, but we've got a few more fun things planned before that. Talk about fun things that are also allowed. We're going to head straight into the Strike Master pair. I'm going to hope I press the right button.
Even more incredible performance. Sorry, the Strike Masters for North Wales Military Aviation Services. This design looks quite familiar and you think it's a jet Provost. Well, that's not quite right, but this is of course a derivative of the highly successful jet Provost. Buy or operate more expensive bespoke frontline types. And it was also suitable, if they wished, as an advanced jet trainer. Also received an uprated version of the Rolls-Royce Viper engine. And of course, as we can see, it received a number of underwing weapons hardpoints which could carry such as gun packs, bombs, drop tanks and so forth that took them on strength, being those of South Yemen, Oman, Kuwait, Botswana, Singapore, Kenya, New Zealand, Ecuador and Sudan. And several of those used them in combat. Ecuador did so, so did South Yemen, but Oman did so in particular. Carry Omani colours, and they, as I say, recall some of this type's most active frontline service. The Strike Masters of what was then known as the Sultan of Oman's Air Force were heavily engaged in the Dhofar Rebellion. That was a conflict in which communist-backed rebel forces, which were known as the Adu, meaning the enemy, troops that much more rapidly if required, and of course its armament was significantly more potent. In from the left for a topside pass. These aircraft were equipped by the Omanis with 322 rockets, or 16 of those Sura rockets and a pair of 540-pound bombs, plus a pair of 7.62mm machine guns of the Omani Strike Masters were shot down during the course of the whole rebellion. Now in come the two aircraft towards us for a break. very far afield from the UK, so it was not a familiar sight in British skies during its active service years, but it's become much more familiar in retirement, with quite significant numbers of them having passed through UK civilian hands. And this pair, operated by North Wales Military Aviation Services, are based at Arthur in Chester, is the most prominent. In two batches. This one was built in 1986, went on to the civil register in the UK in 2005. Civilian hands for quite a while. It's a Mark 80A model. That's the second of the two aircraft you can see performing the barrel roll in front of us. Is that of an Omani example. That aircraft was the subject of a 14-year restoration at Harden, and it made its maiden flight in July 2018. It became the first ex-military classic jet to be issued with a new permit to fly by the UK Civil Aviation Authority for quite some time. This was a very effective little light attack aircraft in its day. It has all manual flying controls, which pilots say means it feels quite heavy to fly at high speeds in particular. But it removes, of course, the risk factor associated with having extra hydraulic pipe work, which would be particularly the case in the sort of low-level attack environment that these aircraft are most active in. Attention from civil arms fire and from rockets. And the effectiveness of the concept of the Strike Master was displayed many times during armed operations in which these aircraft served, when these aeroplanes would return to base safely in spite of having sustained significant damage. The two aircraft then turning back in towards us for the final manoeuvre of their display. Well, they don't see the nose lights come on. There they go, and the smoke once again in on the B-axis. The final break by the pair of PAC Strike Masters. Rather fewer such aircraft are now on the circuit than used to be the case.
and that was the Strike Master pair. That was at the Duxford Air Show, their summer air show, I think, as you can tell. The grey sky in the background, that's definitely a traditional British summer. So that was the Strike Master pair. They are both BAC 167 Strike Masters. Their engine is a Rolls-Royce Viper 537, and that offers an enhanced thrust over the earlier version, so it's obviously an upgraded engine in these older jets. They're operated by the Strike Master Flying Club, and they're based out of the North Wales Military Aviation Services, which is in Harwarden in North Wales.
They're, I believe, were designed to be light attack aircraft.
I think you're right.
Hence the name Strike Master, which is interesting role. That also explains why they've got a strict wing, because for attacking things also low maintenance, the strict wing is generally better for light attack aircraft.
Nice. So we're going to swiftly move on, ready for our next segment. So this would be our vintage aircraft, which this aircraft went, it got, what's the word that I'm looking for? Grounded, that's the one. It got grounded in 2015, I want to say. Might have been a little bit later. But we'll of course talk about the lovely Vulcan bomber. Now, have you got any little bits of info about it before we then go in and talk about it afterwards?
I've got quite a bit of information, and I don't know if I should start now or start later, but
I think we'll cover it a little bit later.
Yeah.
So we're going to now head over to, this is one of the Scottish air shows, and it was final appearance at the Scottish air show. So this is the Vulcan bomber.
I'll just do some quick.
Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, and what a vast crowd it is here today to witness this piece of history. We lucky few here at the Scottish Air Show 2015. The one and only Avro Vulcan. As you can see now and earlier on, those old-style Olympus engines tended to be, as I say, they were called smokers, not the most refined, but incredibly strong, simple, and as I say, very, very powerful. This aircraft has been maintained entirely by your support, by public donation. Over £22 million, including a £2.5 million lottery funding over the past nearly 10 years. Well, as you see, not the quietest of aircraft, but certainly one of the most impressive. There's the gear going down now, dangling the Dunlops down and dirty for a slow speed run. Well, you may wonder why it's the last season for the Vulcan. Well, it's not because the aircraft is not capable of flying, that manifestly is so. But there is such an enormous amount of technical backup required. It requires 3 or more professional aerospace companies to maintain it. And quite frankly, there isn't the technical expertise anymore coming from the people that used to work on these aircraft. And also, the time life on the fuselage is getting longer and longer. And the fatigue, of course, increases the more you fly. So there has to become a point where we say, glorious, but enough. Also, as you can see, it handles rather more like a fighter than a bomber. And indeed, in the cockpit, you don't have the standard ram's horn that you would expect, but in fact, a straight fighter pilot type stick. Incredibly powerful, incredibly agile, and also in its role, incredibly efficient and effective. There, the bomb doors are open. A big gaping hole in the bottom of the aircraft just gives you an idea of just what amount of ordnance this aircraft could deliver when it had to. It was a Vulcan that flew one of the longest bombing sorties, if not the longest bombing sortie in the world, with an incredible number of aerial refuels all the way down to the Falkland Islands for a bombing raid on the runway at Port Stanley during the Falklands War. And no other aircraft in the world could have done that. And it played a very significant part in securing the airport at Port Stanley and preventing the enemy from being able to use it. And there it is, yes. Absolutely 90 degrees, quite extraordinary. I've often said to the boys, well, why not just go for it last run and roll it? Well, of course, they were rolled at Farnborough several times during displays. And of course, the test pilots did, perfectly capable of it. The aircraft has all the power and agility to do that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you there's just 1 minute to go. So this is your last chance now. Get the cameras out. Just look at that. Outstanding. A special tribute to you, ladies and gentlemen, the Avro Vulcan. There's going to be one more pass. So please now, everything you've got, whatever it is, hats, coats, scarves, umbrellas, throw them up in the air, because Phil Odell and Bill Ramsey will be looking out that cockpit. And this is the last time this will ever be seen in Scotland. And we few are the lucky ones to see it. So a great big wave when he comes past. They will be looking down, ladies and gentlemen. So make it a big one. Here we go. They're looking down. Thanks, guys. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful. Oh, I thought he was going to roll it. The very, very best of British aviation and British innovation. Thank you. Outstanding.
And that, ladies and
Absolutely.
gentlemen, was the Vulcan bomber. And that was its last fight at the Scottish Air Show in 2015. Now, before Nizdam jumps in with his amazing, most likely amazing, commentary on the subject of the Vulcan. I'm going to say a few words. So there is one surviving Vulcan, which was the one we saw there, and it's now grounded, and it's held in Doncaster Sheffield Airport. And it has the call sign of XH558.
I think there's 2 more surviving ones.
I think the last surviving airworthy one, so this one was at Doncaster Sheffield Airport. If it was allowed to, if it wasn't grounded, it could fly. Again, it's the only airworthy one that's left. So it was originally built around 1952, yeah, something like that, am I right?
It was, I believe,
its first flight was in 1952.
Yeah.
And then it entered service in 1956 and retired in 1984.
I believe it was designed a bit earlier than that.
And it was the manufacturer was Avro, which then became Hawker Siddeley. When Avro is the same people who made the Lancaster bomber, and then went on to make the Vulcan bomber, which they were made in sort of the same time, weren't they? Ish. Like not long after the Lancaster was made, it was the Vulcan was in design process, I think, which is it's quite crazy to think about, I think. So, and it's got 4 Bristol Olympus turbojets.
The Avro Lancaster bomb was introduced in 1942.
And then this was introduced in 1952, so there's 10 years between it, which isn't a lot when you think about it.
Yeah.
And
now, this was primarily made to be a part of the UK's nuclear deterrent, which it was quite good at. Well, do that in 2 ways. Firstly, nuclear war hasn't happened, so that's good as a deterrent. Secondly, during testing in Operation Sky Shield, I believe it was Sky Shield 2 in 1961, it was able to actually, a squadron of them were able to penetrate and simulate a mock nuclear attack on the USA.
Yeah, and the one thing I find interesting is that it's flown more like a fighter, like it said in the thing. That's flown more like a fighter than it is a bomber, and the controls are more like a fighter than a bomber.
I mean, it's also had this plane has actually had some combat history during the Falkland Wars, where they were actually brought back in, or sort of brought back fully into service, and they did long distance sorties.
So, alright, we've got a little bit of a fun segment now, as we get ready for some trivia.
Oh.
So I've got some music on it in the background there. So I've got some little Air Festival trivia for you, my friend, at Newsdown.
Oh.
Hold on, that is the schedule. I'm looking at the wrong thing. I was nearly about to say the schedule then instead of the questions. So, do you know what aircraft is nicknamed the Bone?
I do not know that one.
We had it a little bit earlier. It was an interview. It was a videotape that we had instead of an actual flying display.
Was it the B-1B?
It was the B-1B Lancer. That is nicknamed the Bone.
Yeah. Sadly, though, I cannot hear the interview stuff.
Yeah, we'll sort that out for the future.
Which is somewhat good and somewhat bad because I don't hear myself twice and I don't hear you twice.
Yeah. Right, let's have another one. Which World War II fighter had elliptical wings?
Why do I think it's a Spitfire?
Is that your final answer?
Might be the other one.
No, you are right. It's the Spitfire. It's not the Hurricane.
Yes,
The Hurricane's got more straight wings. I believe elliptical
Yeah.
wings are the ones that are slightly rounded on the ends.
They do have their advantages, such
Yeah.
as you can carry more ammo for your guns. Very useful.
So, do you know what the RAF's largest aircraft is?
Currently, or
I believe it's currently. You have to thank ChatGPT for these questions.
do they have that aircraft in service? I'm gonna guess it might be a like maritime patrol aircraft. Well, no, like one of those. I do not know actually.
Yes, you would be right. It's sort of that. It's an RAF one. It's not a Navy one.
Yeah, I don't know. I forgot its technical terminology, but like a reconnaissance aircraft.
Yes, it's the A400M Atlas.
That
so
was half right.
what team
Yeah,
is
it's-
known for their Diamond 9 formation?
I'm in 9.
Really
Is
obvious
it,
one.
let me just check the schedule as it was here. Is it the Tiger 9?
No. No, it's more obvious than that. The Tiger 9 isn't well known. Diamond 9 formation.
Oh yeah, no, it's the... Red Arrows?
It's the Red Arrows, yes.
Yeah.
Do you
Why
know?
did
Oh no,
the
carry
9
on.
tricked me. Yeah, the 9 tricked me.
Yeah. Do you know what BBMF stands for?
Nope.
It stands for the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, which I think we will be featuring in our next instalment of Your Virtual Airpost. And our last question: which display team that featured today uses green smoke?
I'm pretty sure they call the Saudi Falcons, but we've got them down as the Saudi Hawks.
The Saudi Hawks, that is correct. Now, if you are watching this on record or you're watching it live, please put in the comments and stuff, and we will go through on the Twitch chat and look and for other questions that you would like us to answer. We can both take a gander at that at some point. So,
I'm very tired now.
yeah, it's lovely. Right, I'm going to get rid of this lovely game show music.
Maybe doing this late at night is not the best idea.
No, we're going to try and go for a bit more mid-afternoon at some point. But it is what it is. Now, we're going to go back and we're going to have our last air display for today, which you've got to end it with a bang, and these do bring some of the big bangs of all. We're going to head over and watch the RAF Red Arrows aerobatic display team. Again, I think this
Will
was
we
from...
see the Diamond 9?
I think we will see the Diamond 9. I know for a few years they didn't fly 9 ships, but they brought back the 9 ship. So this is the
Ships?
red...
You mean planes?
No, the 9... They call it a 9 ship.
Ah.
Yeah. So, right, this is the Red Arrows.
When the team arrive, they'll be in their Diamond 9, trailing off famous red, white and blue. So, Riyadh, please put your hands together for the 2024 Royal Air Force Aerobatic Team. It's the Red Arrow! Team arriving on our world-famous Diamond 9, trailing our red, white and blue. And as the team pull up, you can see us in that world-famous Diamond 9 with that plan form of the shape with the sun glistening off the aircraft. You see reds 8 and 9 now move left and right, changing the shape to 9 Arrow, reaching a height of over 5,500 feet at the top of that loop. Leading the team this year for 2024, we have a new team leader, that's squad leader John Bond, known as Bondy. Bondy had previously been in the team for 5 years before taking a year out in 2023 and coming back as the team leader this year. He's a former Typhoon pilot and former qualified flying instructor on the Tucano, where he was the Tucano display pilot in 2012. You've now seen 6 and 7 at the back, split in from the left. This is Big Vixen. There are actually 11 pilots in the Red Arrows. You have Reds 1 through 9 displaying in front of you today. There's myself, Red 10, former Tornado GR4 pilot, former qualified flying instructor on the Hawk T-Mark II. And of course, as a military unit, we are commanded by Wing Commander Adam Collins. He is OC Rafat, former Red 10, former Tornado GR4 pilot, and he also flew the F-111 while on exchange with the Royal Australian Air Force. You now see 6 and 7 move to the centre, and Reds 8 and 9 join them at the rear. At the beginning of June 2024, we celebrated and commemorated 80 years since Operation Overlord, which of course was the storming of the Normandy beaches by the Allied forces. And tribute to all those that took part and those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, this is Spitfire. On the right of Red 1 is Red 2, that's squadron leader Chris McCann. Chris is in his first year on the team, and going through training, Chris was taken straight from training into an instructor role on the Tucano, after which he then joined the world famous 617 squadron, the Dambusters, flying the Tornado GR4. While flying on the Tornado, Chris received an Air Force Cross for his service on operations in Afghanistan. His opposite number on the left-hand side of Red 1 is Red 3, Flight Lieutenant Dustin Wales, known as Dusty. Originally from Zimbabwe, he's a former Typhoon pilot, having flown with 11 Squadron, an instructor on 29 Squadron, and also was part of 41 Squadron, which is the Test and Evaluation Squadron, all based at RAF Coningsby in Lincolnshire. The smoke is on from Reds 4 and 5 as either side of that centre section makes their way rearwards. And November 2023 marked the 20th anniversary of the final flight of one of the most iconic aircraft ever in aviation history. As the team roll out, there is no mistaking the wonderful and majestic shape of the iconic Concorde. Once again, Red 1 pulls the team up at over 450 miles per hour, showing the expertise of the pilots, looping in formation. To make it even more difficult, you'll now see Reds 8 and 9 move themselves left and right to change the shape from Concorde to Cygnet. Reaching a height of over 5,500 feet, those aircraft now slowing to only 120 miles per hour, made the controls a lot less responsive. Conversely, the aircraft now accelerating through 200, 300, back to 400 miles per hour before Red 1 brings the team around to the left in Cygnet. You now see the wings of the Cygnet start to flex forward, with all the team members now looking left and right down their shoulders towards Red 1, with Red 6 and 7 splitting at the rear. As they continue come round from the left, Riyadh, get your cameras ready for the colourful Phoenix. In the middle of that right wing uppermost is Red 4, that's Flight Lieutenant Ollie Suckling. Second year on the team, he remained as Red 4 this year and took up the role affectionately known as Uncle Enid. This means he is a mentor, works alongside Red 1 going through winter training to ensure our new pilots each year maintain and attain the standards required of a Red Arrows pilot. All the pilots must have a minimum of 1,000 fast jet hours and be assessed as above average in the air and have one operational tour before they can even apply to join the team. They'll go through a rigorous selection process when we take the number of applicants down to our final 3 who will join us at the end of the season for the next season. The team now in 2 distinctive rows as they pull up for the chevron roll. On that front row, on the far left-hand side, is Red 5. That's Flight Lieutenant George Hobday. George is in his first year on the team. He's a former Typhoon pilot, having flown with 11 Squadron based at RAF Coningsby. And George has also taken part in operations over Syria and Iraq, as well as the Eastern European Air Policing Patrol in the face of the aggressive Russia. As I said, there are 11 pilots in the team, but the Red Arrows is not just about the pilots. We have a team of over 140 personnel. 120 of them are the engineers, the mechanics, the administrators, the logisticians, the public relations, the administrators, and they are known as the Blues, so called because of the colour of their flying coveralls. There are a number of Blues here today at our public relations centre in the RAF village, so please pop along, have a word with them, find out what they do in the Red Arrows as well as their wider role since they've joined the Royal Air Force. You now see Reds 8 and 9 in trail on the rest of formation to your left-hand side, slightly front, for one of the most popular, if not the most popular manoeuvre the Red Arrows fly. We've kept it in for this year. Get your cameras ready. It's the Tornado! The aboard call is made by Reds 9 as Red 8 and 9 roll around the rest of the formation, but watch for the colour change as Red 1 flies the team down the line. In that front section of aircraft, you may be able to see those aircraft are flying with their air brakes out. That's the small door at the base of the aircraft towards the rear. This has twofold effects. The first one being the pilots now fly it with a higher throttle setting. It thereby produces a hotter engine gas temperature and makes the smoke colours burn a lot more brightly. In addition to that, it disturbs the airflow outside the back of the aeroplane and makes that smoke billow a lot more fuller. And therefore, in certain manoeuvres in the display, we'll fly with this technique to enhance those particular manoeuvres. Reds 8 and 9 now join the rest of the formation. And of course, once I said earlier, it's our 60th anniversary, it's our Diamond Jubilee. So once the team coming in from the right-hand side, as we come to the end of the first half, this will be your last opportunity to capture the Red Arrows in that iconic Diamond 9 before we start the second half of the show. Sirs, moms, ladies and gentlemen, once again from the right, in our world-famous Diamond 9, it's the Red Arrows. As we go into the second half, you'll now see a manoeuvre not flown since 2003. This is the 5-4 split. As we go into the second half, we'll now break down to 2 distinctive sections. Going off to the right-hand side, you have Reds 1 through 5, known as Enid, named after Enid Blyton's famous 5 from the children's books. Off to the left-hand side, Reds 6, 7, 8, and 9, known as Hannah, named after squadron leader Ray Hannah, one of the first members of the Red Arrows. He was the only team leader to lead the team for 4 years. He took the team from a 7-ship to a 9-ship and created our world-famous Diamond 9. Hannah from the left, Enid from the right for the 5-4 cross. Keep your eye on Enid to the left-hand side. The Red Arrows were formed in 1964 with our first public display in 1965. We were actually formed from 3 display teams available at the time. It was the Red Pelicans, the Black Arrows and the Yellow Jacks. We took the red from the Red Pelicans, the arrows from the Black Arrows to give us our name, and of course we took the aircraft from the Yellow Jacks. In tribute to that aircraft, Enid from the right flying the Gnat. The Red Arrows flew the Gnat right the way up until 1979. In 1980, we took control of the Hawk T-Mark-1, which is the aircraft that we fly today. And the Hawk is actually 50 years old this year. Extremely agile aircraft, extremely fun to fly, and all the pilots that have flown it absolutely love flying her. Look directly to your front. 8 and 9 roll with the red and the blue. Get your cameras ready once again for the Hannah break. We have reds 7 and 8 off to our left-hand side, reds 6 and 9 off to our right-hand side. The rear section is led by red 6, the synchro leader off to our right, trailing white. That's Flight Lieutenant Stuart Roberts. Stu is in his 3rd and final year on the team. He's a former Typhoon pilot with both 11 and 12 squadron based at RAF Coningsby. Each pair will now dive down to only 100 feet above the airfield. They've got a closing speed of over 800 miles per hour. Sirs, Moms, ladies and gentlemen, Riyadh, get your cameras ready for the Hannah pass.
Threshold.
You have reds 8 and 9 going vertical and reds 6 and 7 staying flat. Red 6 off to the left, red 7 off to the right. Red 7 is squadron leader Tom Hansford, 2nd year in the team. Red 3 last year. He's a former Typhoon pilot, former qualified weapons instructor on the Typhoon, as the synchro pair complete Cyclone. As the synchro pair leave directly to our front, look to your far left-hand side and you can see Red 9 starting to run in. Red 9 is Flight Lieutenant Patrick Kershaw, doing over 450 miles per hour. Paddy is in his 3rd and final year on the team, a former Tornado GR4 pilot, former Typhoon pilot as he turns hard left to line up with Enid in the distance to complete the manoeuvre called the Goose.
Listen to it right now.
As Red 9 climbs up, smoking the red, white and blue, you can see Enid coming off to our left-hand side, smoking our famous red, white and blue. Of course, one of the roles of Red Arrows to represent the Royal Air Force and the United Kingdom of Great Britain, and we do that by flying our red, white and blue through the skies. We're extremely proud to take the Union colours, we wear them on our chest, we have the Union flag on our tails, and of course, we have our famous red, white and blue, flying across the UK, Europe and across the world. Look directly to your front and you'll look to see the synchro pair, red 6 leading, red 7 in trail. The smoke comes on, get your cameras ready for the world famous Synchro Heart. Look to your far top right-hand corner and you can see Red 8 coming in as Red 8 spears the Heart. Red 8 is Flight Lieutenant Richard Walker. Rich is in his 2nd year on the team, a former Harrier pilot, former Typhoon pilot and former qualified flying instructor on the Hawk T-Mark II. Keep your eye on Red 6 and 7 once again as they dive down to only 100 feet. They'll have a closing speed of over 800 miles per hour. As they pass, they're only looking to miss each other by only 30 meters, that's 100 feet. They'll go unsighted for the last possible second as each pair completes the synchro opposition barrel roll.
Threshold.
As the synchro pair leave, look directly in the distance to your left-hand side. You can see Enid running back in, the white smoke in trail. Once again, Red 1 pulls them up at over 450 miles per hour. He'll roll himself right, followed by the rest of the team. Once again, get your cameras ready for the Vixen vertical break. Keep looking to your left and keep looking to your right. Once again, you're looking for the synchro pair. This time you have red 6 from the left, red 7 from the right. Once again, looking to pass each other in only 30 meters. Each aircraft will conduct a 360-degree aileron roll. Pull, go is the call from Red 6 as each aircraft now pull hard up, pulling about 5 to 6 G, which means everything about them is now weighing 5 to 6 times heavier than what you and I are as we stand on the airfield. They'll reach a height of over 3,000 feet. They'll be inverted 60 degrees nose down before rolling the correct way up to complete the maneuver called the boomerang.
Special. Roll,
As the synchro pair leave to our rear, look to your front right over the BAE Systems hangar, and once again you've got Enid running back in with the white smoke in trail. Red 1 once again pulls them up, the colour goes on, and Enid fly a barrel roll, leaving a snake-like smoke trail in the sky for the first part of the manoeuvre we like to call the Serpent. And you can really see that red, white and blue against the sky. Those colours only capable due to the smoke pod which is under the belly of the aeroplane. That smoke pod is capable of producing approximately 5 minutes of white smoke, 1 minute of red smoke and 1 minute of blue smoke. With each of those colours selected by its own individual button on the pilot's control column. And during winter training, we come up with a smoke plan to ensure we have the right colour at the right time in the display and that we simply do not run out. Reds 2, 3, 4 and 5 now moved up, looking 90 degrees along their shoulder line at Red 1 while pulling up to 4G, an extremely hard formation to maintain. The smoke will come on from the right as we finish off the manoeuvre of the Serpent with the Tango Present. As Enid leaves to your left, keep looking to your far left-hand side. You've got Hannah running back in. Red 6 now inverted, easing up as he starts to push. Red 6 now conducting an inverted barrel roll, pushing up to negative 3G, working hard to make sure all that blood doesn't rush to his head, while Red 7, 8 and 9 hold on in that barrel roll to complete the manoeuvre called the mirror roll. With the mirror roll completed, with Reds 8 and 9 performing a rollback. As Hannah leaves to your right, look to your left-hand side once again. You've got Enid running in. That's Reds 1 through 5. See their nose lights twinkling in the distance, and the white smoke is on. 2 and 3 roll go is the command from Red 1 as Reds 2 and 3 roll to the outside. Clear go as Reds 4 and 5 rolls round the outside. in one of the hardest manoeuvres for our new pilots to master each year. This is rollbacks. The motto of the Red Arrows is Eclat, which means excellence, and that means every single member of the team, from the officer commanding to the newest member who's joined the team, is striving for excellence in everything that we do. And we like to think that we leave the team in a better place from when we joined it. As Enid leaves to your right, look directly to your front, you'll have Red 6, 7, 8 and 9 once again. As I said, 2024 celebrates our 60th display season and our 60th anniversary, as Reds 8 and 9 draw a wonderful 60 in the sky for our 60th anniversary break. Red 6 and 7 braking underneath the 60. Keep an eye once again on the synchro pair, Red 7 off to the left, Red 6 off to the right. They'll pull up to approximately 1,000 feet for their final manoeuvre of the show. They'll dive down back towards the display line, back to that 100 feet, back to that 800 miles per hour closing speed. For their final manoeuvre of the show, this is the colourful and dynamic synchro double rolls. As the synchro pair complete their double rolls, look directly to your front, with Enid running back in 8 and 9 for the Vixen break. Sirs, moms, ladies and gentlemen, Royal International Air Tattoo, it's been an absolute honour and a pleasure. Please put your hands together for the 2024 Royal Air Force Aerobatic Team. It's the Red Arrows!
It's always a pleasure watching that aerobatic team do their stuff, which they do fantastically. Don't you agree, Nizdam?
Yep.
So, you know, being where we live relatively close to the Bournemouth Airport, and unfortunately the Bournemouth Air Festival does not exist at this current moment in time. It's not happening this year, but there are talks for it to happen next year, which hopefully it does.
You are very quiet on my end, so I don't know
Sorry,
if it's the same.
I'm going to have to get a little bit closer to the microphone. It's a lovely thing to see, and being so close to this airport, often throughout their season, the Red Arrows will use Bournemouth Airport as a little base to go in and out. So if they're doing something in Devon, they'll often fly back here, fuel up, and stay here overnight. And it's still lovely to see, you know, that connection with the town. Obviously, after their accident in I think 2013, I want to say their accident was with one of their Red Arrows crashing. So yes, but I'd like to thank you for joining us on this lovely evening. Have you got anything to say?
Yeah, hopefully during maybe we get to see some other unique things, because the advantage of having a virtual air festival is we can have a look at many different aircraft from different regions, whether or not they're available here locally.
Yes.
So maybe next time we might have some more foreign aircraft in foreign air shows.
So, and hopefully going forward, doing these more this year, we're going to hopefully have different themes. So this one was just an entry back, but hopefully we're going to have a theme for our next virtual air festival, which you can have anytime, anywhere. So this is Paul and Nizdam from your virtual air festival, wishing you a very good night.
Adios.